Entertainment Soldier here, and I'm back to talk about House of Dragons Season 1, Episode 5, and my thoughts on this episode. I think it's a great episode. I just love the fact that I finally got what I wanted, which was Alicent Hightower finally coming out as a character, finally coming out as the character she is from the books. Not this damsel in distress, not this, self-harming, goth child. No, she's finally come out as Alicent Hightower, the Queen. And the episode where you finally see that character, you see that scene, it's just such an amazing scene. I fucking love this episode. This is my favourite episode out of all the season. I think this finally shows the groundwork towards the Dance of Dragons. You're starting to see the sides getting taken. You're starting to see why people are going to betray other people in the series. I mean, the episode had everything we wanted. We had the game being played. We had people, making their own deals. We saw betrayal. Again, this is why this show is so good. This show is so good because every scene matters. Every character matters. Every part of the show matters, and that is what makes this show just so great to watch, because you can't look away. You question everything. You want to find out more about these characters, and that is just so fucking great to watch. This has finally, for me, I can say you should watch this show. I think this is going to be kind of like the phoenix coming out of the ashes of Game of Thrones. That Game of Thrones was a disaster. I think House of Dragon, this has started the process of becoming the best show, the top show in the world. I mean, the stories make sense. The stories are compelling to watch. There's no, hanging around. There's no filler episodes, and that is what I love. This episode was just great. It was great seeing, King Viserys on the back foot, seeing that he has to now go technically beg someone for their help or for an alliance. It's good to see that Rhaenyra is coming out to be a selfish bitch, because that's what she is. Too many people seem to think she's going to be this Dany type. No. There's no good people in this show. I mean, I just love this episode. The sets look amazing. The armor looks amazing. The fact they go to real castles to film, that's great. Not just relying on so much CGI. That's great as well. I mean, Daemon. I think when you were at the beginning, Matt Smith was like the best character in the show. But as we've gone through, every character now is as good as Matt Smith. Does Matt Smith sometimes take a scene? Yes, he does. But I think now that we've gotten used to the other characters, the fact that they're not all just, staying as background, or they're just staying as like victims, they're finally coming out of their shell, they're finally showing us who they really are. You're starting to see that all the characters now become as important as Daemon or as Matt Smith, and that's just fantastic. This episode, it's a 9 out of 10 for me. It's a great episode. I loved every minute of it. I can't wait for the next episode, and that has been a long time for me. Like, I haven't wanted to see an episode or something like this in such a long time. To have, to be so... it's such a great show. I can't believe they've actually done it. And yeah, there is no woke. There was no woke in this episode. Yes, there was one scene you could probably say is kind of woke, but if you kind of think about it, it kind of makes sense that they do that with these two characters. And it is in the books as well, so... yeah, I don't think you can call that woke. But again, the episode's a 9 out of 10. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's a fucking great show. And I can't wait for more. So let's get into spoilers now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, leave in 3, 2, 1. So the episode starts off with us in the Vale following around Lady Rhea, which is the wife of Daemon Targaryen. Now, she's on a hunt. She bumps into her cousin while she's on the hunt. And when she's riding for a few... Then she leaves her cousin, rides for a few miles, and then bumps into a man in a cloak. Turns out this is Daemon. And Daemon's just standing there in the middle of the road where Lady Rhea starts to insult him, and pretty much you can kind of see that the relationship between them isn't great, and the fact that they both kind of know they hate each other. And while she's insulting him, Daemon slowly walks up to the horse to try to spook it, and he does, and the horse rears up and falls on Lady Rhea, crushing her, but she's not dead. And whilst Daemon's walking away, Lady Rhea insults him again, says that he can't finish anything because apparently at their wedding ceremony he couldn't consummate the marriage. So she pretty much takes the piss out of him for that. And so Daemon grabs a rock and walks over to his wife, and then the scene ends. But I think we can all tell what happened after that. The next scene is Otto Hightower leaving King's Landing because he's been fired as Hand of the King. But we then see Alicent run up to him to try to stop him from leaving because she blames herself for him losing his job. And in this scene, you start to see that Otto Hightower does care about his daughter. Yes, he can't just outright say it because of the culture in Game of Thrones. But he tells her, like, I'm trying to help you. You chose Rhaenyra over your own family. That's just the dumbest thing you could do. And Alicent's saying, listen, Rhaenyra told me she was faithful. She told me she hasn't slept with a man. She's still a virtuous woman. And Otto says, basically what he says is, you're deluding yourself. She's obviously lied, and you don't see the bigger picture here, Alicent. The bigger picture being, your children are always going to be a threat to her. When she becomes the queen, she could be the greatest queen in the world. There will still be too many people who would be against her, and there will be war. The only way that Otto knows how to stop that is to put a male on the throne. And he also has to tell Alicent, Otto tells Alicent, you are a threat to Rhaenyra. She will have to one day kill you, kill your children to protect her throne. And you kind of see Alicent kind of realizes that maybe she was wrong to side with Rhaenyra. Maybe she is in a dangerous position, and that she should, kind of accept that Rhaenyra is a threat. And that's what I've wanted for ages for Alicent, to finally realise that Rhaenyra is not a friend anymore. She's not a family member anymore. She is a threat. She's a person who will kill her if she doesn't wise up to that fact. But then Otto leaves, but he hugs his daughter before he goes. Then he leaves, and Alicent's just left crying. And then we go to the next scene. And the next scene is us on a ship with King Viserys with his new hand, Lord Strong. They're heading to, what's it called again? High Tide Castle, where Corlys Velaryon is. And they're going there to ask for his son's hand for Rhaenyra. When they get to the castle, only Lauren... What's his name? Sorry. Lorna... I think it's Lorna? Laenor Velaryon is the only one there waiting for the king. Well, he's not waiting. He was training with his friend. And the Hand of the King says, where is Lord Corlys? Not Corlys. Where's Corlys Velaryon? Why is he not here to meet the king? But then Corlys' daughter comes to greet the king and tells him that Lord Corlys Velaryon is in his throne room, basically. So King Viserys says fine. He goes up to see Lord Corlys Velaryon and asks for the marriage. And you kind of see in this scene that King Viserys is not well. He is sick. He's in very bad shape. And when he goes to talk to Corlys Velaryon, you can kind of see that he's the one who's in a weaker position, because he knows that he's screwed Corlys too much, and that he needs to beg for there to be a marriage between their houses. Now, of course, Valerian needs this marriage as much as him, and he also wants this marriage. So in this talk, Corlys Valerian starts to try to push to see how far he can go. He does bow to the king out of courtesy, but you can absolutely see in this scene, Corlys Valerian is definitely the one in power here, not Viserys, which I think is kind of hilarious, because where we started to where this is ending. Corlys agrees to the marriage, but he wants to know about the succession. Like, will Viserys make sure that the laws of the land are still in effect? Like, the father's children will take their father's name, not the daughter's name. And Viserys says, yeah, that's fine, until they make it to the throne. When they make it to the throne, whether it be a male or a female, they will take the name Targaryen, because he doesn't want his family name to die with him and his daughter. And so Corlys does try to push it a little bit, but he kind of realizes that's good enough for him. He will have his family on the throne. His name will be there too. It just won't be the main name, which I think Corlys Valerian thinks is a good compromise for his family finally becoming part of the royal family, or at least part of the main royal family. We then go to another scene, which is us in the garden at King's Landing, where we see Alicent at the weirwood tree, where we see Lawrence Strong's son, the one with the weird leg. Now, he's there to pretty much technically pass information, or to technically stir shit up. I kind of think because he's going to become the master of whisperers in the future, he's kind of just seeing how far information can get him. So he tells Alicent about the tea the Grand Maester brought to Rhaenyra after she allegedly had nothing to do with Daemon that night. But when what's his name, Larson Strong, tells Alicent about this, Alicent pretty much puts two and two together and realizes Rhaenyra has lied to her, and that something did happen between her and, well, what she thinks is her uncle. And so she knows now that she chose the wrong side, and that she might not be able to trust Rhaenyra, and that she might become a threat to her and to her family. Which, again, you've been wanting Alicent to kind of figure this shit out, but I kind of wish she had figured this out on her own. But it's still a good scene, and it is good to see Larson Strong back, because again, he's going to become important in the future, because he's going to become the Master of Whisperers and a very smart person in the story. But anyway, the next scene is Laenor Viserion with Rhaenyra on the beach, talking about their marriage. Now, Rhaenyra knows that Laenor Velaryon is gay, and she tells him that's completely fine. Let's just do our duty between each other for the good of the realm, and in our pastime we can do what we like with other people. And he agrees to that. But the problem for Rhaenyra with this whole situation is she's already on the back foot when it comes to the realm. The realm are not exactly happy she's going to be queen, and if she has a husband who they find out is gay, they will see her as illegitimate, and her children, because they're going to say, well, who the fuck are the fathers? It can't be Laenor, because, you know, him being interested in something else. So I kind of see this as a big problem. I mean, again, it's a problem in the books as well, but it kind of seems like a few people are acting a little bit too dumb, and I kind of wish they had kind of made Laenor at least bi, in my opinion, that maybe he's interested in both. But again, the actor playing Laenor, he's a good character, and that's fine. But they both agree to the terms, both be married, both try to have heirs, but will both go and do their own thing in their private time. The next scene is us with Corlys Velaryon and his wife, Rhaenys. Now, they both know how dangerous this situation is for their family, because a lot of people wanted Rhaenyra's hand, and the fact that she's a woman is pretty much going to unite certain people to may try something against her and her family. And that's what Rhaenys is kind of telling her husband, Corlys, that he does understand as soon as this marriage happens, they'll have daggers to their throat. They will be in massive danger from people in the realm. Now, Corlys Velaryon's like, it doesn't matter. We have all the dragons. We have all the ships. We have enough power to protect our family. And it's worth the risk to become a part of the royal family for Corlys. Because this is not so much about getting his son on the throne as trying to fix the mistake of not having his wife be chosen as queen. But Rhaenys has to tell him she's past all that. She's done with the throne. She doesn't think this is a good idea. She thinks they're putting their son in too much danger. And she has to remind Corlys that their son's gay. And Corlys says something weird like he'll grow out of it. But come on, man. You don't grow out of that sort of thing. And it is going to become a problem for their family going forward. Especially when it comes to a certain part in the book where someone's parentage is going to be called into question. So, again, I kind of think this whole marriage is a big mistake. I mean, again, it is a big mistake, but you know what I mean when I say there's just so much risk to it. I don't think Corlys Velaryon would do this in real life, but it's not real life, so fuck it. The next scene is Laena and his boyfriend, who is the Knight of Kisses, which is fucking hilarious. I mean, as soon as I heard that his name is the Knight of Kisses, it's like, I mean, that's a fucking clue right there. And the fact that Corlys Velaryon still lets his son hang around with the Knight of Kisses. I mean, if you're trying to sort out your son, I mean, in that way, do you really want him to hang around with somebody you know he's probably banging? Anyway, so Knight of Kisses tells Laenor that this is the perfect opportunity. You become king consort, and the queen has pretty much said you can have sex with whoever you want outside. So what's the problem? But you can kind of see Laenor doesn't really like this because I think he's an honourable person. I think he sees this as him lying, and especially that he loves somebody else, which is the Knight of Kisses. He just doesn't see it as right. And I kind of got respect him for that. And so, him and his boyfriend kiss each other, and I think they both pretty much agree the wedding's going to go forward. And the next scene is... it's the best scene. Now, for me, I've always wondered, because I didn't remember this from the books, but what happened between Rhaenyra and Sir Christian. Now, in this scene, Sir Christian goes to Rhaenyra to ask her for her hand in marriage and for them to leave King's Landing and head for the Free Cities so that they can be together. Now, the problem for Rhaenyra is she wants the throne. Now, was there a time she didn't give a shit where she would have ran away with Sir Christian? Yes, but now's not the time. She wants the throne, she wants to be queen, and she tells Sir Christian about the deal she's made with Laenor, and when she tells him that, he pretty much realises, so I'm nothing but a whore to you now. And you've got to remember, Sir Christian is the one who's in massive trouble here. If the king ever found out what he's done, he's fucking dead. And he's not like they're going to give him a quick death. They're going to torture the fucker to death, because stealing a princess's virginity, that is serious shit in medieval times. And he also feels massively guilty because he betrayed his white cloak. He betrayed his vows for Rhaenyra. And Rhaenyra doesn't see it as anything but a bit of fun. For him, he's given up everything by doing this. And you're seeing, Sir Christian seeing finally Rhaenyra doesn't give a shit about him. It was just a bit of fun to her. He's not that important to her in a grand scale of things. And that hits him so hard. And it's just such a great scene to see why he betrays her and what he's going to do in the future. And it just explains so much about that. And I love that in this scene. So when they all get back, King Viserys comes out of his carriage and collapses. And it's pretty much clear that he's going to die soon. Or at least in the coming years. He won't live to old age. So he gets taken to the maesters so that they can get give him some medicine and to put some, and leeches, because apparently leeches are used to kind of get rid of bad blood, and you see Alicent on the balcony seeing all this, and she pretty much sees for herself that without King Viserys, she is in massive danger from Rhaenyra if she becomes queen. And you're starting to see Alicent putting all this together and realising so much. But the next scene is pretty much where you see Alicent pretty much see that she needs to do something, which is she asks to speak to Sir Christian. Sir Christian comes to talk to her. Now, Alicent is trying to find out whether Rhaenyra had sex with her uncle. That's when she tries to say this in code, like, do you know what happened? We all lose our way sometimes. But Sir Christian thinks she knows that it's him who's had sex with Rhaenyra. So he just outright says, yes, I'm sorry, I did have sex with Rhaenyra. I have broken my vows. And all I ask is that you kill me swiftly. And you just see in Alicent's face that she has just been lied to by Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra is a danger to her, and she could be doing this often. She could be fucking anybody and putting their realm in danger. And this is where you start to see Alicent is finally coming out to the fact that Rhaenyra is not the queen, or at least should not be the queen of Westeros. And I just love this scene. And you just see Sir Christian, I mean, he is just in the shit in both places. Like, he thinks that Alicent knows. He's now just admitted to a crime. If Alicent tells the king, he's going to be tortured to death. And that's why he asks for a clean death from her. That's why he asks for a merciful death from her. But Alicent doesn't tell the king. She tells Sir Christian to go back to duty, basically. Where she pretty much now just gets left with her thoughts. And she now has to plan for what she does next. Which is great. The next scene is us with King Viserys, who's being treated by the maesters. The maesters put leeches on him because apparently that works. And a new maester tries to give him something new, but the Grand Maester refuses to let the king take any of that, because he's old and he's set in his ways, and he isn't long for this world, because the maester is also dying from something, which we don't find out in this episode, but we'll find out soon, I think. But when the maesters leave, it's just King Viserys with his hand, Lord Strong, and Viserys now knows that he's dying. He now knows that his time's up and he needs to start getting ready for death, but he starts to question himself of like, was I a good king? I didn't start any wars, I didn't fight any battles, I've never been truly tested as the Lord of Westeros, and will there be songs sung about me in 500 years? because I'm just a peaceful king. But you hear Lord Strong tell him, yeah, you could have started a bunch of wars and, fought a bunch of battles and gotten so many people killed, but you have had a peaceful reign. You've kept the tradition going from not just starting random wars to killing innocent people. You'll be seen as a good king. You might not be seen as the greatest king, but as you've been king, you've had peace in Westeros, and you've allowed a lot of people to live in freedom. You've allowed a lot of people not to live in fear, and that's what you should be more proud of. And Viserys knows that he's right, but there is just still that little Targaryen part of him that wishes that he'd gone out and conquered. And you kind of can respect that about him. And I think that's such a great scene. It's a great thing to see him kind of just accept that he's going to die and accept that maybe he could have done things better. But having Lord Strong there to tell him you were still a good king, I think it was just a great scene to watch. Next scene is the start of the wedding ceremony. Well, not the ceremony, the wedding feast, where you see all the houses come together to the wedding of Rhaenys and Laenor. You see the Lannisters. Sorry, Lannisters come first, and the Lannister head comes up to the king to tell him, well done for the match between the two houses. And you kind of see him take a shot at Rhaenyra for the whole fact that the queen is still getting ready. And it kind of does look like that Lannister's kind of pissed off that Rhaenyra didn't pick him. But as soon as Rhaenyra pretty much takes a shot back at him, he realises his place and he just fucks off. Then we get the arrival of the Valerians. They get there. They go down to the king's table, where we then see Rhaenyra and Laenor have a dance. At this same time, Daemon comes back, and he's here for the party too. He's pretty much there to pretty much try to see if he can get Rhaenyra, basically. That's why he's there. So they'd have a dance, Rhaenyra and Laenor Valerian. After the dance, you start to see Laenor's friend, the Knight of Kisses. He's figured out who's sleeping with the queen, the princess. The Knight of Kisses then goes to tell Sir Christian that he knows, and that he should remember that he knows that. It's pretty much him threatening him, or at least telling him, I know your secret, you know mine. Let's just make sure we protect the people we love. You then see in a dance, the whole room is dancing now, and then you see Rhaenyra and Daemon have a dance with each other, where you see Daemon asking if this is what she truly wants. Does she really want to marry Laenor? And if she doesn't, she could marry him. She could marry somebody else. And Rhaenyra tells Daemon, if you actually cared, you would kill my father's knights, you would take me back to Dragonstone, and you would marry me there and make me your queen. So it's pretty much her telling him, you need to earn my love, you can't just take me, I'm not just going to be, waiting here for you to make the first move. You have to prove that you love me. And you see that Daemon is, yes, he wants to do it, but he's still hesitant on it. And you see the king, he sees them both together, and this pretty much pisses him off, and, well, he wants to kill Daemon if he touches her, basically. But whilst this is going on, a fight breaks out at the back. Oh no, I've completely forgot the scene. The most important scene, I'm so sorry. Alicent. When Alicent finally arrives, she is finally showing herself as a Hightower. She wears green, and she walks through the room, and everybody notices that she's wearing green. And green is very important to the Hightowers because it's their colour to call to war. and she starts to show that she's no longer going to be this damsel in distress. She's not going to be this victim. She's going to be this strong female character, and the fact she's not going to take any shit from Rhaenyra anymore. Because when she comes, she doesn't say friend, she doesn't say Rhaenyra, she says daughter-in-law. And it's pretty much her saying, we're no longer friends, I know where I stand with my family, and you should remember that too, Rhaenyra. And it was just a great scene to see her. She's finally coming out of her shell. She's finally being this tough character that I know she is. And I'm so happy we saw that scene. Anyway, back to Daemon trying to kiss Rhaenyra. It gets interrupted because a fight breaks out between the Knight of Kisses and Sir Christian. We don't know what started the fight, but whatever did, it pissed off Christian so much that he punches the shit out of the Knight of Kisses to the point where you can see his skull. When Laenor tries to stop him, he just punches him and throws him over a table. He keeps punching and punching Knights of Kisses to the point where he's dead. So Christian then leaves, and everybody pretty much leaves the wedding. When Laenor sees that his boyfriend's dead, he's heartbroken. He starts screaming out, but there has to be a wedding. And the final scene is basically, you see Sir Christian about to commit suicide, but Alicent stops him. And then we finally see why Sir Christian is not loyal to Rhaenyra, but loyal to Sir Alicent, and why he's willing to do certain things in the future for her. He saves his life, she saves his life, and he sees that as his duty to now protect her. And the ending of the episode is Rhaenyra, Marion, Laenor, Valerion, and finally uniting the two families and uniting the dragons to protect the realm. And the final scene you see is the Knight of Kisses' blood on the floor being eaten by rats, or at least a rat. And that's the end of the episode. I think it's a great episode. I can't wait for next week's episode. I think this show is just going to get bigger and better, especially when we see what's going to happen with the Dance of Dragons. I'm fucking looking forward to it. I hope you are too. Again, 9 out of 10, and I can't wait for the next episode. And that's the end of my review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you dislike this review, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think about subscribing. Entertainment World Soldier. Bye.